Hello and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Wednesday, May 9th, 2018, and this is episode 59. My name is Carol and I am known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry. The show notes for this and every episode can be found on the blog and also in the episode thread in the Ravelry group. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so via private message on Ravelry or by leaving me a message or a comment on YouTube, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. It's kind of a blustery day here in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. We've had a stretch of really nice, actually almost summery weather, and it was followed by heavy rain last night. You could kind of see the weather changing late afternoon and into the evening, and then the rain hit, and it was supposed to be showers today, and so far it's been a mix of sun and cloud, but it's quite windy. So you've got the wind-blown look today because I've been outside back and forth the last little while, and it's starting to cloud up again, and I think we're going to get some more rain. Cameron's supposed to play ball this evening, so we'll see how that turns out. He doesn't play till 10 to 8, so plenty of time for rain to come and go, but we'll see. So I didn't think I had that much to share with you this week, and I guess I have like 4 projects. That's more than I was thinking. Feeling a little bit discombobulated. I had planned to record just after lunch, and then I got a phone call from my daughter Jessica to say she and my granddaughter were out running errands, and she called to see if she could come by for a cup of tea and a little visit. So it was good to see them. We sat outside, hence the windy wind-blown hair, and then our friend who's working on our deck also dropped by. So in a way it was good that my podcasting was delayed, otherwise he would have ended up interrupting my recording. So it all worked out, but it's just a little later than I planned to get going, so I feel like I'm a little bit of a rush. So I've got 4 knitting projects to talk about, and been doing some reading this week, and then I'll just talk about what's been going on around here. So settle back. I just had tea with Jess, so I just haven't drank water today or this afternoon, which I probably really need. So, let's get started. I catch my breath. I don't know why, I just feel... So, my first project you've seen before, and it's the Magnolia Socks by Helen Stewart, which is the second sock in the Handmade Sock Society Club. And so I have finished the first sock. I believe I showed this to you last week, and I've made some pretty good progress on the next one. I've turned the heel, and I've just sort of started the gussets. So there's the lovely lace and cable-y pattern there, and the yarn I'm using is Cherry Tree Hill Super Sock Solids in the Blossom colorway. We've had this yarn for ages, so it's nice to have a use for it. So just working my way down the foot. Hopefully those get finished this week. That's the aim anyway, because I'd like to be all done in time for the next pattern that comes out, which is early next month. Well, I guess I actually have a fair bit of time. It's the 9th. To me it feels like it's already the end of May. Isn't that horrible? I mean, we've hardly got into May. Mind you, it's almost the 3rd over already. I don't know, if the time just seems to be flying, and sometimes I just don't feel like I'm getting enough done. Not just knitting, but like other things too. Just every day just seems to just disappear in a blur. Okay, Carol, breathe. Sorry, I'm just all over today. I'm also feeling a bit pressed for time because my sister Jacqueline is coming next week. She arrives Thursday, although she's not staying with us this time. She and her husband are coming out, and then we are all, a bunch of us are going up to our family property to open things up for the season. So it was her birthday last month, and I knew I had time to postpone getting her birthday gift ready, but I did cast on a shawl for her this week, and I need to have it done and blocked by the time she gets here. So I definitely feel like I'm in a little bit of a time crunch with that. So I'll show you the yarn first, then I'll show you the pattern. So the yarn is this, it actually has a sparkle in it, but it's just only shows up in certain lights. It's very, very subtle. This is from Black Cat Custom Yarn. And it's their Blingtron 400 in the Widowmaker colorway. You may see a fly buzzing around here. I just went by and you might hear it. It's that season, doors are open, and even though we try and keep the screen doors closed and not have doors open all the time, the flies are starting to come in. They're driving me crazy. The other morning, I was trying to sleep and one kept landing on my arm, and I just finally just gave up and got up because it was very distracting. So anyway, I had a really tough time finding a pattern to knit. I went through shawl after shawl after shawl, and I finally settled on one from this book by Rosemary Romy Hill, and it's called the Crystal Bay Shawl. So here's a view of the back of it. Let's see if I can cut the glare a bit. If I turn it, nope, that way. There we go. And I know there's another picture of it here from the front. So it's constructed, has a garter stitch. You work back and forth, and then you do an applied edging. And actually the bulk of the shawl is the applied edging. So I, pardon me, have finished the garter section, and for the size shawl I'm making, it really didn't turn out really large, so I hope this is going to be big enough. But anyway, that's the yarn knit up in the garter stitch. You can see markers hanging off it. That's to mark the different repeats, pattern repeats, as you work across for the applied edging. So I have 3 repeats of the edging done, and like most lace, it doesn't look like much when it's not blocked. Let's see if I can smooth it out a little and give you a sense. So you can see it has points, and then has a lot of eyelets in there along the top. This whole eyelet section with a band, and then kind of a wave pattern that runs through the center of that part. So yeah, I have 3 edging sections done, and I'm trying to think how many more I have to go. I think I have 8 more sections to do, and they're about 36 rows, I think, each. So what I've been trying to do is to get one done a day the last 3 days, but I might have to pick up the pace if I want to finish and block this before Jacqueline gets here. There are parts of it that are easily memorizable, and then the rest I need to look at the pattern every row, or every second row I should say, to get it right. And for some reason, I guess I get distracted. I've made numerous mistakes and had to pick back. So it's not going quite as quickly as I had planned and hoped. I think it'll be lovely when it's done. And actually, you can see with the edging, it does make it quite a bit larger. So it should be a good size. But yeah, it's lovely. It's definitely taking more concentration than I expected. But that's okay. Those kinds of projects are good to have too, so to balance out ones that are kind of really simple. So like for instance, as I segue into my latest pair of stockinette socks, and this is Storytime Fibers Once Upon a Sock in the Puck colorway, Puck as in the Shakespearean character. Those who were watching last week will notice that I've actually already cast on 2 of the 4 skeins of yarn that I bought last week. So this was one, and then the yarn for Jacqueline Shaw was the other. So that always feels good when you put something to use right away. It doesn't go immediately into the stash and get buried there. So anyway, I like how these are knitting up. As I mentioned last week, it's very similar to how my other, my Titania socks knit up. So I will most likely find a dark gray or a medium gray to use in the heel, or I might even try and find a kind of a berry pink color to pick up the speckles. So I will probably do the heels in a complementary or a contrasting color, but I'm not there yet. This yarn's a little bit heavier than regular fingering, so I need to find a yarn that will be equally heavy. So that will limit my choice somewhat, because I mostly knit with regular fingering weight yarns, so, or light to medium. This is a bit heavier. Pardon me. Still got that bit of froggy throat. Just I don't know if it's I'm assuming it's my cold hanging on, but maybe it's some seasonal allergies. I don't normally suffer from them, so I don't think that's what it is, but definitely a little phlegmy all the time, but can't be helped. So my last project, I actually started yesterday because I've been putting it off. I had made a pair of felted slippers, felted clogs by Bev Gillespie. I don't remember. I know I did it within the last year or so. Last year or so, because I remember showing them off on the podcast. And I neglected to put the suede soles on right away, and by the time I went to do that, there was a lot of lint on the bottoms had felted more and had picked up a lot of dirt and lint and such. Plus my glue was getting old, and they didn't stick, and so I just ended up taking off the soles while they were coming off anyway. And so my slippers have already worn holes in them. So I really need a new pair, because I do wear these around the house all the time. So I went digging in my big, what do you call it? It's like a big zippered container with all my leftover, like that you get for a blanket or a duvet or something, that kind of storage, plastic storage. What do you call it? A bag? I don't know. Anyway, I have one full of leftover worsted weight yarn. So I went through and I found some leftover classic, Peyton's Classic wool, and this is the new denim colorway. So there's the label. And I had one full skein and dribs and drabs of 3 others. And then I had some also enough for to do slipper tops, same yarn in navy. And so I've completed one slipper, and I've cast on for the second. So I have made this pattern countless, cannot count how many times I've done it over the years, and I have one project page set up for just an assortment of them because I've done so many. But it is not a pattern I love to make, but it's a pattern where I love the finished product, and so I'm willing to take some time to knit them up because I really do like wearing them. So for those who don't know, these are, you knit them big and loose, and then I will be felting these. to get them down to my size. And I don't have as much success with felting with my front-loading washing machine as I did with my original top-down, but they'll be fine. I'll get them down felted enough. They just don't, for some reason, they just don't felt as nicely, and they end up more kind of bumpy and wrinkly, but they will work. They will serve my purpose, and so that I'll be working on the next couple of days to get those finished and dried. It's not so much that I need them around the house at the moment because it's pretty warm, but we are heading up to our cabin and I know I'm going to want them there. And this time I picked up some new glue last weekend, and I am going to get the soles on these right away this time so that they last a lot longer, because it does substantially extend the wear of these slippers when they have the suede soles on them. So I should be able to show those to you, hopefully finished next week. So that's it for what I've been knitting. Reading. So I'm going to jiggle the camera here a bit, I think. I finished up Agatha Christie Hercule Poirot's Christmas. It's also known as A Holiday for Murder and Murder for Christmas. And as I told you last week, I was getting close to the end, and there was a character that they were giving hints about that I was pretty sure I knew who this person was going to turn out to be, and I was right. But I was not right about who I thought the murderer would be. As Agatha Christie so often does, she pulls sort of a fringe character out of the mist and reveals them as somehow connected to the situation in hand. And so she did that again. But so it kept me guessing to the end. I thought I knew, and I was wrong again. I don't know if I ever guess correctly, but then she has a tendency to do that, to make it just a little bit far-fetched, or definitely is good at the red herrings. But that's what makes her a good mystery writer. And then I've been reading children's books. You might wonder why. I've got Betsy Tacy and Betsy Tacy and Tib by Maud Hart Lovelace. This series is a book. These books are part of a series that I and my sisters discovered as children and teenagers. I'm not even sure what the first of the series was that I read, but they have been favorites. I've read them numerous times, especially the later books, and I would compare them to Harry Potter in the sense that as the children grow up, the books themselves become more complex, much like Harry Potter does. If you look at the difference between the first one and the last one, you know, Harry starts out as a child, ends as a teenager, and he's definitely, the writing reflects that maturity and the complexity of his thoughts and actions, and the same is true here. So these books are based on the author's life, Maud Hart Lovelace, and she grew up in a place called Mankato, Minnesota, which she calls Deep Valley in the books. And the series follows her right from age 5 all the way up until her marriage. And those who have been watching know that this summer my sister and I are going to be making a road trip to Minneapolis to attend the Betsy Tacy convention. My sister Janine's been much more involved in the fan, I guess that's the right word, fan end of this books. I've just read them, and I haven't really ever participated in any sort of listserv or Facebook group or anything like that, where she has for a number of years. So she knows a lot of people in the Betsy Tacy Society, and so she asked me if I wanted to attend the convention with her this summer, and then on the way we are going to stop at several sites where Laura Ingalls Wilder lived during her lifetime, and so we're combining two sets of books that we have read and loved on our trip. It'll be a little homage, I guess, to both of them. So I finished. I mean, these do not take very long to read. The writing is, they're meant for children. And the illustrations in the early books are done by Lois Lenski. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with her writing and illustrations. I know we read Strawberry Girl and Indian Captive, Flood Friday. Those were all books that I read growing up. So in the first book, Betsy and Tacy meet and their adventures together over the first year, and they grew up across the street from each other. And that's these stories are based on Betsy and her real life best friend that did in fact live across the street from her. And then they were always enamored by this house in town. They call it the chocolate colored house. And so Tib moves in there with her family, and the three become inseparable. And again, Tib is based on another childhood friend, and all the stories are based on them and their families as the author remembers them. She obviously takes some artistic license with their names and invents some stories with these characters, but they are very largely based on her actual life. So if you've never heard of them and you have young girls, young women in your life that you think might like them, they're set around the turn of the 20th century. So early, I guess late 1800s, early 1900s. The last book, or one of the last books, takes place, I guess it's the second last book, takes place in just as the First World War was breaking out. So yeah, can't recommend these highly enough. A couple of patterns up and coming that I'm excited about. One is the next sock in the Handmade Sock Society. We received a sneak peek of the yarn that was used for the third pattern, so I'm been giving some thought to my stash, but I think I'll wait till I see the pattern to make any final decisions on that one and see what the I assume it will be another flower themed sock, but I don't know that for sure. And then this week Helen also announced that there will be a third Shawl Society, so I am looking forward to that too. I've enjoyed the first two, so I'll definitely be jumping into number 3. The pre-sales start May 21st, and then the first pattern comes at the end of May. So and then they'll be released up till the end of October. So there'll be plenty of Helen Stewart Curious Handmade knitting in my future. But that's great. She's got just such a nice aesthetic, and I enjoy her patterns for sure. And I enjoy the possibilities. Like, I like shopping my stash and seeing what I can find in there to use for her patterns. And I'm usually able to find something without having to buy something new. As for what's going on around here, like I said, I just can't believe another week has gone by. I'm actually recording Wednesday instead of Thursday because tomorrow evening we are attending the Eagles concert in Vancouver. So we're going to be leaving sometime in the afternoon and go in and have dinner before the concert starts. So I know I wouldn't have time to record and process and everything tomorrow, so that's why I'm doing it today. Doing that, we spent Saturday. Well, our plans for Saturday were to scrub our deck and railings and get our new patio table and chairs set up, and get some groceries. We had like all these plans for Saturday, And most of them didn't really come to fruition. We ended up driving my son into the next city over to look at a car. He'd already gone to look at once, and he went to take another look. And so Cam dropped me off at the mall, and I did some shopping while they went to the dealership. And it looks like things will probably work out. The car, the air conditioning wasn't work, so they're having, what did I just say? The air conditioning wasn't working, and so this week they're having the car looked at by a shop to assess whether it's just an inexpensive quick fix or whether it's going to be a substantial amount. So if it's a quick fix and inexpensive, then I believe my son will buy this car. It's been on the lot for a long time. It's a standard, which he loves, but they're slow movers, I guess, for dealerships. And so he's got a good price on it. It just depends on how the assessment works. So pre-sale inspection. So cross fingers that works out for him. So that sort of took care of most of our Saturday. But we did. Sunday turned out to be nicer than it was supposed to be, and so we did all that stuff on Sunday. It was a long day, but it was done. But our deck's nice and clean. We live in a rainforest. I mean, that's the reality. So we do have a lot of green buildup on our outdoor surfaces around here. It's just inevitable. So it's just every year you need to scrub the railings and scrub the decks and furniture, clean everything up before you can use them. And we did get our new set put together, and we also had our friend come over and give us some more details about our deck. We talked about some more plans and the logistics of doing things, and so then one of the things was to remove this, we had a piece of lattice that was nailed up to the two posts of the existing deck. We have an upstairs deck that's staying, but we're building a deck at ground level. And part of it will go under the existing deck. So there's two posts. We had lattice nailed up there, and I had clematis that grew up that. So that has to come out. And so my husband's so funny. He loves dismantling things, and once something needs to be done, he's like, can't wait to do it. So we were putting together the patio furniture, finished the last chair, and then he disappeared, and I went looking for him while he was outside. He checking his drill to see if he could take this piece of lattice off, and it's like, can we just get this table together first before you go and play with your power tool? So he managed to do both. It's all good. And then our friend came over yesterday and started work. So we have a cement pad at the bottom of our outside steps that needed to be moved. So he did that yesterday and built a little temporary step. And so then I think from there he needs to mark out where the supports are going, etc., and they can start putting in there's a word for them, but it's escaping me. The cement things that support your deck. Not fittings. Probably all, shouting at me, but I can't think what they're called. Last week I was over at Jessica's, and they have a nice covered deck outside their kitchen, and have some like chairs and couches with cushions out there. And Jessica has a really nice fountain. And we're sitting out there knitting, and the sound of the fountain's going. And I've been wanting a fountain for a while. So when Cam asked me what I wanted to do for Mother's Day, I said, I want a fountain. So we went looking at some over the weekend, and then we went in Monday night to the next city over. They didn't have any stock in our city, so we drove out Monday night or Tuesday night. Monday night, I guess, and picked it up, set it up on the upstairs deck, at least for now. And I didn't realize it had lights in it, so as it got darker, the water was playing off the light and it was reflecting on the house behind it, the wall of the house behind it. It just looked really cool, and I just love the sound of the water flowing. It's just very soothing. So I'm very happy with my new fountain. Trying to think what else. Just reading my notes here. I think that's it. So yeah, sort of a rushed podcast, or at least that's how it feels like today. So sorry if I'm talking really fast, but there shouldn't be too much editing that needs to be done, so I can hopefully get this going up before I leave for ball tonight. If not, I could certainly be processed by the time I get home. So it should go up tonight, if not tomorrow morning. Once again, doesn't really matter to you. You see it when you see it. Oh, the volcano in Hawaii, isn't that something? Wow, the pictures, you know, it's incredible. There's one that's making the rounds of the lava flow basically consuming this car. It's very sobering, and I really feel for all the people whose homes have been affected and people who have been evacuated. It's got to be a really tough time. We were in Hawaii in 1999, and we went to the volcano park while we were there. And I remember at one point we drove along a road, and then the road stops because it's covered by a lava field. And I remember being there, and you could see off in the distance there were a couple of trees that were burning because the lava was flowing and they'd caught on fire. So but it wasn't in the middle of a residential area, so it's really something for those people. So, you know, that's the thing. Nature intersects with people all the time, doesn't it? Whether it be hurricanes or floods or volcanoes, earthquakes. That's just part of living on Earth. But you just have to feel for those people. And then Sunday coming up is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. We're very proud we got our Mother's Day cards in the mail on time, so our moms should get them before the weekend. Not good, and we'll definitely phone them also on that day and wish them a happy Mother's Day. So I have no idea what we're doing around here. Cam asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I didn't know. I got my fountain, so I'm happy. So hopefully it's just a really relaxing day. I said I'd like to get all our jobs done Saturday so that we don't have any errands or anything to run Sunday. So that in itself would just make me happy. I'd be quite satisfied to sit around and knit all day. I have no idea. And maybe someone will cook me dinner. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, if you're a mom, happy Mother's Day to you. As far as I know, I should be back recording next week. So take care till then. Happy knitting. Bye.